we do a lot of politics on this channel. We did not jump on this on day one, right? With all the stuff that's going on in Iran and throughout the Middle East right now. And the reason for that is that anytime something like this happens, early conflict reporting is chaos. Bad numbers, leaks, political spin. Now that we have kind of more of a sense of what the confirmed strikes and retaliation is, we can actually talk about what this Iran escalation is a few days in and what it could become. So here's what we know, right? U.S. and Israeli forces conducted coordinated strikes on Iranian military and other targets throughout Iran over the weekend. Iran responded with missile and drone attacks, targeting basically anything in the region. This is not proxy action like we've seen before, where it's us working through smaller armies or things like that. This is direct engagement between the United States and Iran. That shift matters. This wasn't just a strike like we saw last year where they did the one night of bombing. It was a credibility move. And in geopolitics, credibility is currency. If one side escalates and the other one doesn't respond, it invites more pressure. If they over-respond, it invites wider conflict, which is kind of where we're at now. That's the trap. Once everybody's committed publicly, backing down becomes politically expensive. And that's on both sides. And that's how limited operations spiral, not by accident, but by incentive. So this isn't about whether it's serious. It is. We know that. The real question was whether this was an exchange that was supposed to have an off-ramp built in, or a first move in a chain reaction where backing down costs more than escalating. Because once that map flips, it changes kind of how things work. So let's talk about what got us here, right? And I'm not going to mince words, okay? If you presume that Israeli leadership sees Iranian existence, not just influence, but existence, as structurally incompatible with their greater project, then degrading Iran's capacity isn't just tactical, it's strategic doctrine for them, okay? This all starts with Israel. Inside that framework, this isn't reactive, it's structural. And we know that the Trump administration is very broadly aligned with Israeli assessments, or at least willing to back them kinetically. And so this makes sense, right? That's only half the equation. The deeper question isn't military capability, it's actually political endurance. Iran's leadership is calculating something very specific, okay? And that's where I want to start. They believe that they can take more punishment than the United States is willing to deliver. Airstrikes hurt. Sanctions hurt. We've had them on them for a long time. Infrastructure damage hurts. Regime collapse, however, that requires sustained commitment. And Tehran likely understands something uncomfortable. American public appetite for prolonged conflict is extremely limited right now. We don't want it. Trump can project strength, and he will, right? But even he knows long regional conflict carries domestic political cost. Energy prices move. We've already seen it. Markets react. We've already seen it. Casualties, which we're already seeing, shift public sentiment quickly. Air campaigns alone don't remove governance. Ground war is politically radioactive for him, especially since he promised he wasn't going to do it. And the Iranians know this. So there's a good sense that their strategy may be endurance. Absorb, retaliate enough to maintain deterrence, stretch the timeline, and let U.S. political fatigue do a lot of the work. Authoritarian systems can often sustain economic and military strain longer than democracies can sustain voter backlash. So this may not be that conventional escalation ladder. It's a durability contest. Who absorbs more? Who blinks first? Who decides the cost outweighs the objective? Because once it becomes a war of political will, the battlefield extends beyond just who can do the most damage. We've gotten a lot of reports, and even some confirmed by the Trump administration, that even a day and a half into this, they had approached the Iranians for a ceasefire. They said, hey, let's talk ceasefire. If these reports are accurate, even partially, that tells you something. You don't float ceasefire language unless you're testing the temperature. And the Iranians rejected it. They were like, nope, We're not talking ceasefire right now. So, Jay, all our opening in there, the knowledge that even this short in, the administration has already approached looking for a ceasefire resolution. Like, what are your initial thoughts, kind of the overarching situation that we are in right now?
Yeah, I think you are correct. I think they're going to like they do think they can just hunker down and kind of take it um until America kind of doesn't want to give it anymore. Um and yeah, I think it is odd that like we were already talking about ceasefire. It's it's a little interesting. I guess from one hand, we went in there and we killed their leader, right? That's been confirmed.
Yep.
Have
The
it?
Ayatollah
Yep.
Khamenei has been killed. The IRGC will set up a new Ayatollah. And the thing you got to think of that an Ayatollah is you got to think of him like the Pope. Okay. They're a religious and political figurehead. Okay. So the IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Council Corps, will find a new Ayatollah. Okay. They will put up a new Ayatollah. They will have a new supreme leader soon. They may have another one. It may be Mujtaba Khamenei, but I'm waiting for more confirmation on that. So, just because you killed Khamenei does not mean that this is over. It's not like, oh, we killed the president, we're done. No. I mean, it's a symbolic victory for sure, but it's definitely not the end of the road.
Okay. Next question. If we did pull out right now, because I imagine this would kind of create some sort of like vacuum in the area. Like what do you think would happen if we just pulled out? We're like, okay, we did our mission, Operation
Epic Fury?
Yeah, Epic Fury, which someone today that was in the military said anytime like anyone in the military says something was epic, you make fun of it. Like
I don't
you
know what
don't
12-year-old is naming our
yeah.
military things.
Well, I mean, we do know. We do know who it is. Like, let's be real. But yeah, so what do you think would happen right now if we just pulled out? We're like, okay, we did our mission. Goodbye. Have a
The
good day.
IRGC stays in control. The IRGC stays in control, and they elect they put in a new Ayatollah. That's it. I mean, nothing fundamentally changes, and that's the issue, right? Yeah. And I was having this discussion on TikTok with somebody, and let me be very, very clear for those that don't know. I'm not mourning the death of the Ayatollah. He was a bad guy, okay? I'm not mourning the deaths of these clowns inside of the Iranian regime. They're bad people. They do bad things. My primary gripe here is I don't see the end game, right? You're not going to overturn the regime without putting boots on the ground. And that's where you lose me, right? What's your plan here, right? Iran is 3 times the size of Iraq, and that went real well for us, okay? 90 million people in that country, okay? They're well educated, they're savvy, they know what they're doing. I don't see, again, a situation where you're going to get into the place you want to be without putting boots on the ground. Most likely scenario, you end up with another Libya where it's just a failed state, nobody's running it, and it just turns into a giant chaos dumpster fire, right? But that's not good for anybody, right? And so again, I would disagree with going about it from that direction. That's where we're at. I don't know what they're saying. And again, the Trump administration has been very clear. They've said that they are not ruling out putting ground troops into Iran. And again, kind of coming back to our opening, I don't think the American people have a political will for it. I don't think they want to see a protracted conflict in Iran. So, I mean, what do you? I mean, do you disagree with kind of the analysis there?
No. Yeah, I guess my only question here is like, what do you think Trump is really trying to do? Because I know there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there of like trying to start war so he can stay in power longer. This does seem like a really kind of odd, I don't know, like half cocked plan here. I don't know what to call it. Like, we're gonna go in there, we're gonna take out their leader, we're gonna bomb some stuff, and we're gonna try to call for a ceasefire. But at the same time, we're also going to say that, like, hey, like, be willing for us to lose more U.S. troops and then also to deploy ground troops. So I don't understand like the strategy here, because
I don't.
I don't think it's just Iran.
I think that the strategy really is. I think from Israel's perspective, turning Iran into Libya, where it's just a failed state and they can't get any footing underneath them. I think that puts Israel into the position that they want Iran to be in, right? Where it's not a cohesive government anymore. It's just a failed state that only really exists on paper, right? Basically, a consistent internal civil war within Iran would be Israel's best kind of case scenario. Um, Barring all that, I don't think Trump has a strategy. I think that there are people who are in Trump's ear who are convincing them that they can install a friendly regime. Um, the guy they've kind of been floating around is Pahlavi. Um, I'm trying to think. He's the son of the Shah, right? Uh, and his name is Reza Pahlavi, right? And the Shah was the guy who ran Iran right before the revolution in '79, right? And it was a dictatorial monarchy. They were not nice people either. The Iranian people rose up and they overthrew the Shah and installed the Ayatollah. Reza Pahlavi, lives in the United States and he has since '79, right? He's about 60 something years old right now. Um, and that's who they're kind of floating as could be a leader. But from what I hear, what I'm listening to a lot of Iranian expats is he's kind of a joke in the Iranian expat community. I don't think he could hold together a political coalition and take over the country. Um, I think he's kind of the only option. So again, I don't think Trump has a strategy per se, but I think a lot of the people around him are convincing him that they can shift the regime over with this brutal air campaign and call it a day. And again, I don't think he's getting the best advice. So I don't think he has a strategy. I think the people around him think they have a strategy. But if we learned anything from Iraq and Afghanistan, that's not a strategy. So, here's the real shift, though. U.S. casualties. Just before recording, as of right now, which is March 2nd at a little after 8 Pacific time, there's officially been 6 U.S. casualties from the thing. We lost 3 F-15s today. There's some dispute as to whether that was friendly fire from the Kuwaiti Air Defense or the Iranians. The Iranians are claiming one of them was them. The other 2 might have been Kuwaiti Air Defense. We don't know. Those pilots and air crews are all alive. I think 6 is just the start. I also am fucking pissed at Pete Hegseth for sometimes a squirter gets through. Fuck you, dude. People died. People fucking died. Right? Like, come on. Take it seriously. As American service members get killed or wounded, the political cost matrix here changes immediately. Putlu's going to harden a fracture. He can protect toughness all day. But prolonged casualties without strategic games, I don't. Do you agree that that's probably where this all falls apart? Is if they keep hitting us?
Yeah. I mean, you're you're the military expert here. But did we not see this kind of similar thing in Vietnam? They hunkered down. They took a shit ton of missiles and other shit. And then eventually the American people were like, we've had enough. Like, we don't want this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Am I right?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's Vietnam, but like modern day.
Yeah, Vietnam and Iraq. Yeah. I just, and especially, you think the casualties are bad now, put ground troops in, right? Then it's just going to spike. Iran is mountainous. It's tough terrain. They've got good military folks. They know what they're doing. They were, a lot of the people that were messing us up in Iraq were Iranians who came across the border. You know, they developed the EFPs that messed us up so bad. They developed a lot of the tactics, the technology that was messing us up in Iraq so bad was actually the Iranians. I think that makes it worse and worse and worse. Is, again, more casualties is going to make it bad. So, and again, for us and for them, this is where it becomes psychological, right? Do the American people have the appetite for this? And furthermore, I think that Iran is looking at this as existential, right? I think they're going to throw everything at us, right? They're like, look, we know we can't win, but we are going to extract as much pain from you as possible, and we can take more pain than you. Because again, to them, it's existential. If they give up, that's it. They're dead. They're done. Right? It's brutal calculus, but it's not irrational. If the Iranians believe that the only options are fight us off long enough for us to give up or die, what would you do in their position?
Yeah. I mean, option one, right? Yeah. So talking about them hitting back, what do you think we should expect to see?
It really depends on whether you think they're bluffing or not. So we have a couple of military problems right now. Some of the reports are coming out is that we're almost out of the interceptor missiles. The missiles that we use to shoot down their missiles, we may be running low. Now, what the Iranians are claiming is we're just wasting all of our old stuff, right? We're using this stuff that, you know, we want to use before it goes bad in the fridge. Okay. What the Iranians are claiming is that they're going to make us burn our interceptors out, right? They're going to sit here and keep lobbing random crap at us until we run out of interceptors. And that's when they're going to hit us with the real stuff. That when we can't intercept it anymore, right? It really depends on whether you believe they're bluffing or not. Let's assume for a moment that they're not. You've got probably another week, maybe 10 days of the Iranians throwing random ballistic missiles out, just again to get us to waste the interceptors, right? And then they start hitting the area with their heavier munitions, if the U.S. hasn't been able to take them out by then. But the thing is since the bombings last summer, where we bombed Iran already, every report is stating that the Iranians have basically been preparing for this since then. They assumed this was coming, right? And so they've been doing nothing but prep for the day that this happened. And now it's happened. You know, they hit a U.S. military base in or a British military base in Cyprus. They've hit everybody, right? The U.S. Embassy in Riyadh, I saw reports right before it's been hit. The Straits of Hormuz are essentially closed. Like, nothing can move through there right now. By the way, that's where a quarter of the world's oil transits. It's the Straits of Hormuz. And it's essentially shut down right now. God knows how many, because I've seen a lot of reports of this. Because the airspace is closed, there's a lot of Americans and various people stuck in Doha and Dubai because they can't fly out. They're stuck. So they're living in airports right now because until this is over, nobody wants to fly a plane out of there. So again, that's where I think we're headed. So again, what's interesting to me is the whole ceasefire thing. Now, the other reason I see the Iranians rejecting the ceasefire is when we launched this attack, we were in active negotiations, right? Trump's fail son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and Steve Witkoff were in the Middle East actively negotiating with the Iranians when we attacked. right? If you're Iran, quite frankly, let's talk about the further ramifications of this later. If you're Iran, are you coming to the table? If Trump says ceasefire, fuck no, you're not. Right? Because we've been in negotiations twice with you, and in the middle of negotiations, you bomb us. Why would we go back to talking? And again, big disclaimer. I don't like the IRGC. I don't like the Ayatollah. I don't like the Iranian government. But what the fuck are we doing? And I'm officially done, like living through like once in a lifetime events. I'm also never been happier that I'm not in the military anymore, that I'm retired. Thank you. I will stay my ass home for this one. Any other thoughts, Jay? Because while you may not be a military expert, you're an American taxpayer, and you have a right to talk about what your government is up to.
Yeah, I was actually talking to someone at work about this. I was like, it's a very complex topic, because somebody was like, well, I mean, like, this was a bad person. Like, we went in there, we took him out. It was a bad person. I was like, correct. Okay, correct. Like, no one's debating that, right? But like, are we just going to like just keep taking out like the bad people? Or are we going to then just go to North Korea? Like, when does this stop? Like, I feel like we're getting into like little conflict. This is not a little conflict, but conflict after conflict after conflict. So yeah, it's I don't know. I don't like this. I think for whatever reason, I mean, someone has to be profiting from this from like some point of view. Someone's whispering.
Oh, Raytheon's making all kinds of money.
Yeah, and Lockheed at opening, their stock jumped $30 a share, which, looking at this is kind of like Lockheed's like stock has been just on a war path going up ever since Trump got elected, which makes sense. I mean, if you think about it, you have a president that's kind of willing to jump in and do shit in other countries, and Lockheed. But yeah, from a taxpayer, there's a lot of shit that we can focus on here at home. We don't have to get involved in every little thing in every part of the freaking world. That's my personal stance on that.
I agree with you. I agree with you a whole bunch. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we are. It's day 3. I'm sure we're going to cover this more. But that's why we didn't do it day 1. We waited a couple of days to kind of see how things were floating out. And that's where we're in. We are not in the business of hype. We're in the business of decoding here on the Error Code Show. And what you're seeing now is a conflict less shaped by missiles and more by ego, credibility, and political endurance. The next moves won't be just about strategy. They'll be about who believes they can outlast the other one. And that's where things are going to get uncomfortable. Thank you all for joining us today. This was a bit of a long one. But yeah, if you want analysis without the noise, go ahead and subscribe and turn that notification bell on, and join us for our weekly live shows every Thursday at 8 p.m. Pacific here on the Error Code Show. We'll keep breaking it down. Have a good night.
Night.